Today's episode is sponsored by Timeless Treasures. Since the early 1990s, Timeless Treasures has been introducing cotton fabric collections designed for the quilting industry and is known for its fun and creative novelties. Today, Timeless Treasures is a leading fabric source for quilters, recognized for its diverse line of high-quality, innovative, and beautifully detailed designs. The line includes quilting collections, blenders, batiks, flannels, and more. So check them out. Thank you so much, Timeless Treasures. And now, here's the show. Welcome to episode 170 of the Craft Industry Alliance podcast. I'm Abby Glassenberg. Craft Industry Alliance is a community for craft professionals where you can strengthen your creative business, stay up to date on industry news, and build connections within our supportive trade association. Check it out at craftindustyalliance.org. Today on the show, we're talking about building a business crocheting dolls with my guest, Allison Hoffman. Allison has been crocheting and designing fun amigurumi for over a decade. She's written 5 crochet books, and she lives in Austin, Texas with her husband and 3 sons. She spends her work days crocheting weird stuff, writing down how she did it, and you can find out all about her on her website, craftyiscool.com. Her 2 newest books are Crochet the Golden Girls and Friends Crochet, both to be released in the fall of 2020. So Allison Hoffman, welcome.
Thanks, Abby. It's great to be talking with you.
Yeah, it's great to talk to you too. I feel like we were saying we've been online buddies for many years and and haven't had a chance to actually sit down and talk to one another. So I would love to talk a little bit to start with about your childhood growing up. I know you were always a pretty crafty person.
I remember the first crafty things like sewing and cross-stitching, doing that in Girl Scouts. And my mom was really crafty too, so I'm sure that she did stuff with us at home. But I have a twin sister, and so she and I were always doing little crafty things. But then as I became kind of an adolescent, a teenager, it was kind of all my friends were going out and, partying or drinking or whatever. And it wasn't cool to be crafty then. It really wasn't. Like, I'm talking about like the 90s. I don't know. I didn't know anybody that did anything like that. And so I didn't consider it like something that I talked about and showed off like, hey, look what I made. My friends would have been like, oh, whatever, we're going to a party.
Where did you grow up? Did you grow up in Texas? I know you live in Austin now.
Yes. It's a small town about an hour outside of Austin. It's LaGrange, Texas.
Okay, yeah.
It's made famous by the Chicken Ranch, which is featured in the Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, and a ZZ Top song. So
got it. That's funny. Okay, so you grew up there, and then you went to the University of Texas, and you got a degree in something that's not crafty.
Right. I got a degree in communication sciences and disorders with a focus in deaf education.
Oh, how neat.
And the reason I did that is because when I moved to Austin, there's a really big deaf community, and I went to a church and I saw like these interpreters, and I was like, I just was really drawn to like maybe being an interpreter. You don't even have to have a regular degree to do that, but I was never one of those kids that was like, oh, I know I'm going to be a teacher when I grow up, or I know I'm going to be a doctor when I grow up. I always said I wanted to be an artist. And I was kind of under the impression that wasn't a real job, like a real career that wasn't realistic, And so I just kind of picked something, got a degree, and graduated. I went to work in that field for a very, very short time. And it was okay. I was working at a school, and since I I just had a bachelor's degree. I wasn't qualified to teach. I didn't have a teaching certificate. So I was like a teacher's aide. And I don't know. I've never been really called to teach, to be a teacher. And so it wasn't the best fit for me. After that, I just kind of went from, tech jobs to customer service type of stuff. And then, so I did scrapbooking, and I was working for like some companies doing scrapbooking designs, and I was published in a bunch of scrapbooking magazines and all this. And so that was like my first foray into it. And I did some work for my dad. I made, cards for his clients and stuff like that. And then kind of took a hiatus from that when I was in the throes of being a new mother. And
then you learn how to knit, right? And knitting came before crochet.
Somehow, I don't know if somebody gave them to me or I bought them, but I had some knitting needles and I had a ball of Lion Brand homespun yarn. And it seems like everybody starts with that. And I knitted a scarf, and it was just all in garter stitch. And it was real uneven. And I thought, oh my gosh, this takes so long to do. And I don't even really like what I made. So I kind of put it aside, and I didn't knit or crochet or anything. Probably a couple of years, maybe, I want to say. And then I found an article about crafts, and it was talking about that the hottest new search on Etsy was amigurumi. And so I looked up what amigurumi was, and it was all these little bears and cupcakes and little tiny, really cute crocheted toys. And I was like, oh, I want to make that. So I taught myself. I think it was on the website craftster.org.
Yeah, I remember Craftster.
A lot of message boards.
Yeah.
And so I had seen amigurumi on there, and there was a crochet board, and then there were a bunch of posts about amigurumi. And then so I probably looked on Amazon. I think I got the book from Amazon or maybe Barnes & Noble. And it was called Amigurumi Super Happy Crochet Cute or something like that. I have it still. And it was by Elizabeth Doherty. And she only wrote one book. And she was just really talented. And it was these really cool, real quirky dolls and animals. And so I kind of started with an easy project from that and worked up to making the more complex projects. And I was just in love with how she did things and her style. And so I started thinking, okay, I could totally adapt this. And now that I know how to make these basic shapes and all this stuff, I can make what other things that like my kids want me to make for them, different characters or just other stuffed animals and stuff. So
it's funny how there's just, I think, this mentality of like, I can design my own that certain people have. Like I have felt the same way. I had like kind of a similar path with sewing stuffed animals and dolls. But I will say, but I will say like I never went down it with amigurumi, but I did crochet a lion, and then immediately afterward was like, oh, I can totally design my own. Like I just can't help myself.
Because I was like, they're cute, but nobody's doing this. I want to do this. And yeah.
It's just like as soon as I do it, I'm like, oh, I can figure this out.
You pick up techniques, like maybe from this pattern and this pattern, and oh, this is how they made this shape, and this is how this person made this shape, or and then so you're like, well, I can play around with that and get this out of that. And so, yeah, I totally get that because I have your book. I have your stuffed animal book.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love the way it's like a puzzle solving thing. You kind of, you work from this is what you want it to look like when it's finished, and you can figure out how to get there. And I love that part of designing. So I wasn't content with just following other people.
It's just something about like the way my brain works. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I understand now how this is, and I can just go from here. And I can't help myself.
Yeah. So I know, that's funny.
Yeah, totally. All right. So did you immediately want to make people? Because what you're known for is making these people dolls. And we're going to dive into that for sure. But I'm wondering whether when you did start to design, whether people were kind of the first things that you started making that were your own originals, or was it like, was there an in-between step? Did you start with like granny squares and then build yourself up there?
No, I never did any of that typical like dishcloths and granny squares. I never really did that until I had been crocheting for a while. I just didn't see maybe the point of it. I guess there's no point to amigurumi either. I mean, it's just cute, but I wasn't drawn like creatively to that. They're kind of more functional. I don't know. I wasn't really into it. Now I love making, blankets or whatever. But when I first started, I only was making animals and like monsters. My kids they were really little and they watched Yo Gabba Gabba. And this was when the show was brand new and there was nothing. The only toys they had for that show were these designer toys that you could buy at, like a Hot Topic or something. And they were, $25 a piece for this big plastic hard toy that you really are supposed to leave in the box. And so I was like, well, I'm not buying my kids that. But they loved that show and they just really lent themselves to amigurumi, the way that the characters looked. And so I started designing those and I posted them for free on Craftster. And I just had so many requests and people posting, look, I made it. And they all looked like what I made. And so I thought, wow, I did the pattern correctly and people are able to follow it. And so I typed them out and I started selling the pattern. And I opened up an Etsy shop. And it's funny because I was asked, after it was like popular, those patterns, I was contacted by, not directly, but through Etsy, I was contacted by Nickelodeon or whoever owns Yo Gabba Gabba and told to remove the patterns. And so I did that and I took them down. But like a year later, I was watching, there was a new episode of Yo Gabba Gabba and they used my crocheted toys in an episode.
Wow.
So kind of ironic.
Yeah. And it's really, really fascinating too, because your very first foray into designing was designing a pop culture product, right? Like a person. And granted, it was Yo Gabba Gabba, but it was a person that was in some way proprietary, right? And therefore super popular, right? Tons of people wanted to make it. And then also somebody else's intellectual property that maybe ruffled their feathers, but at the same time, then they also used it in the show. And in some way, that's almost like encapsulates in a microcosm your entire career.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
So.
Yeah.
I can claim ignorance on that because I had no idea that was even like something that I shouldn't do.
No, of course not. But at the same time, and there's been so many twists and turns and so many huge things that have happened in these intervening years. But even up until, like last month or something, it's almost been that same story. And that's just so interesting that it's been almost the same story from the very beginning.
I know. Yeah. You'd think I'd learned my lesson.
No.
It's so tricky because you never know if they're going to be like, oh my gosh, we love this. We're going to put it on our TV show. Or I'm the director of whatever. Can I buy this from you? Or, it's so funny. Like you never know.
Or a combination. Of all of those things.
It has been a combination.
Yeah. So, and it happened right on the very beginning. So that's super, super interesting. And I love that. Like, I love that it was there from the start. So, okay. And then person number 2, right? As we graduated out of Yo Gabba Gabba, was Conan O'Brien.
Yes. That was the first human doll that I made.
And so tell us the story of that one. 'Cause I mean, what happened with that? So how did you get the idea to make Conan O'Brien? And then what happened to the doll when you did make it?
Okay, well, I still have people saying, "Oh, did you make that Conan O'Brien doll?" I underestimate how popular he is, because the reason I made him, Conan O'Brien was given the job of hosting The Tonight Show after Jay Leno was going to retire. He hosted it for, I don't know, 6 months, 9 months, and then he was let go and Jay Leno came back. And so there was a whole movement. This was in 2009, 2010, when I was really starting to get going. And there was a whole movement of I'm with Coco. And this guy made this poster, and it was kind of a takeoff on a famous Obama poster. And it said I'm with Coco, and it had Conan O'Brien. It was black and white poster with orange hair. And so he had a Facebook group, and this was when Facebook was very organic. You saw everything that people posted. So if I liked I'm with Coco on Facebook, I saw what they posted on Facebook, everything in order, in in the timeline and everything. So they wrote, I think I posted it on their Facebook page, and so whoever liked or who was a fan of I'm with Coco saw it if they went to their Facebook page. And then those people that ran that page, the artist, Mike Mitchell, contacted me and said, we would love to do a giveaway of one of these dolls. This is so awesome. And so they posted it, and it was like a huge thing. For me then, it was a huge deal. So they posted a picture of the doll and advertised it as a giveaway. They also linked people to my Etsy shop and my Facebook page, which was just starting out. And I got so many orders for that stupid doll. They were like, it was a lot to me then. It's not that many now because I've made more, but I got like 60 orders for a Conan O'Brien doll, and I was charging very little then, but it was a big deal to me. That was a big hit for me. And so I decided, well, I better write this pattern because I'm not going to be sitting around making dolls, Conan O'Brien dolls, for the rest of my life. I never really wanted to be the person that was making a ton of finished product. That isn't where, I hate to sound materialistic or whatever. That's not where the money is. For me personally, because I'm not fast. I'm not like real quick doing them. And so if I can make one that I think is cute and then write it down, other people are more likely to buy the pattern than to spend what I would want to charge.
Yeah, 100%. No, my business didn't make any money until I started selling instructions. So 100%.
Yes. And people want to say that they made it. And you know what? Maybe they'll buy the pattern and they'll never make it. But
sometimes patterns are, they're aspirational, which is also okay.
Yes. Oh, I like to buy patterns just so I can see, how did somebody do this? I've even bought patterns just to see how they lay out their patterns.
Yeah.
Just to see how they're designing their patterns, what they look like.
Right.
Or how their pattern style writing, what abbreviations and all that stuff. Anyway, back to Conan. I made the doll. I sent it to them, and they sent it to someone I think was the deal, the giveaway. And then I spent, the next month making Conan O'Brien dolls.
Right.
But I wrote the pattern, and I sold a lot of the pattern. So that was better. And somewhere between when Conan got fired and then he started his new show, he had this huge blimp going around the country. And it just was a huge orange blimp, and it said Conan. And so I thought, oh, that would be really cute to crochet just a big old blimp and hang it from my ceiling or something, with Conan on it. And so I did, and I made it out of bulky yarn. And so it was real big, and it was kind of heavy, and it was pretty cute. And I took pictures of it. And then I thought, well, I could probably send it to him. And so I sent it to some address that I found for Warner Brothers, where he was starting his new show at TBS. That's what the blimp was advertising. I don't know if I said that. And I sent it to him, and I didn't hear anything. But then, like a week later, he posted on Twitter and said, the only thing better than having a real blimp is having one made out of yarn. Thanks, Crafty is cool. And he tagged me, and it was a picture of him holding the blimp. And this was also when Twitter was, you didn't see special tweets or preferred tweets and sponsored and all that. It was, if I follow Conan, I'm going to see everything he posts in order. And so it was, I was on my way home from a funeral, and I opened up Twitter, and I got, his mention or whatever. And I was crying, just bawling and crying because I was so happy. And, yeah, so that was the first like celebrity endorsement type of thing that I remember.
I want to take a minute now to talk about our sponsor, Timeless Treasures Fabrics.
My name is Nellie Wu. I'm the marketing director for Timeless Treasures Fabrics.
So tell me a little bit about Timeless Treasures Fabrics.
Well, Timeless Treasures started in 1968, and it was mostly a fashion and apparel fabric converter. And we've always been in Soho, New York. And then in the early 1990s, Timeless introduced its first cotton fabric line specifically for quilting. And initially, we were known for these broad, fun novelties. And since then, we've brought in our fabric into blenders, batiks, we have flannels, but we're still very well known for novelties and panels.
And tell me a little bit about how the fabrics are created.
Well, we still mostly screen print everything that we produce, and we work with in-house and licensed artists and really develop fun fabric around themes and collections that are traditional to modern. We really have a broad reach. We really cater to a lot of different tastes and styles.
And I know you have a few different brands. Marcus is a new one.
So in 2019, we acquired Marcus Fabrics, and they filled a need for us to have a more broad reach for historic fabrics.
You also have Dear Stella. So tell us a little bit about what that's about.
Oh, so Dear Stella, in 2008, we introduced Dear Stella to serve the growing contemporary modern aesthetic. But honestly, anyone can use Dear Stella fabric. It plays well with a lot of other different fabrics, but it also holds its own with these great, fun, whimsical collections. We're very well known for Dear Stella for our funny collection names. We've got a little bit of everything in Timeless, but Dear Stella filled the niche for a very stark modern look.
Now, with all of these brands together, you really offer everything.
We really do, and we're really hoping that there is something for everybody.
Wonderful. So where should people go to check out Timeless Treasure Fabrics?
So they can check out the fabrics and look at all the collections at ttfabrics.com and download any of the free patterns from our website at ttfabrics.com. To purchase fabrics, go to your favorite local fabric retailer. They will definitely carry most of our fabrics, and if not, ask for it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nellie. This has been fantastic. Thank you so much, Timeless Treasures. And now back to my conversation with Allison. Yeah, and there's been so many just really fantastic celebrity interactions since then. Yeah. And it's really fun and fascinating to watch. And I wondered how you decide kind of what to make and, sort of what celebrity thing to work on. And is it, because like I noticed, just during this pandemic that we're all mired in now, Tiger King, right? Everybody. Yeah. And then boom, like Allison's got Tiger King.
Yeah, I know. Isn't it funny? The reason I did that one was because, my husband and I had listened to the podcast Over My Dead Body, which then I think it was like the second season was the Tiger King. And that's what the TV show was based on. Well, we had listened to that podcast driving home on some big road trip, and the story was just so fascinating that when we heard that there was going to be a Netflix series, we were so excited, and we watched it the day that it came out. So, I was all over the Tiger King whole thing before it was a huge deal. And so seeing him, we had heard him and heard his stories, and we had looked up pictures of him and we thought it was so funny. But when we saw the show, I was like, oh my gosh, because people that are really unique looking are so much more fun to crochet. And, just besides just some regular white guy or something, it's just so much more fun to crochet somebody that looks really distinct and has a lot of unique characteristics and outfits. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I have to crochet him. And so it wasn't even like a chasing fame type of thing. I just really wanted to make him. And that's when I'm most successful, because I have more passion behind it. It's not just like a money grab or something. I didn't have the pattern when I first posted it, and I had so many people asking for it, and I thought it was funny that people wanted to make him. And so then it was like a big deal. It's popular.
Right. So when you're looking, I mean, you've got, the cast of Hamilton and Pee Wee Herman and Margaret
Those
Atwood.
were all special orders.
Okay.
A lot of times that's what, like the Hamilton, I have a friend who lives in New York, and she is a huge Broadway person. And she knows a lot of the people that are in Hamilton, that were in the original cast. She's friends with the second guy that played Hamilton. And she's friends with Christopher Jackson. He played Washington. And she's, she's met Lin-Manuel Miranda a few times. And so she goes to all the shows. She went to see Hamilton. It's a ridiculous number of times. I don't even know. But she goes to the back door and the stage door and talks to them. And so she ordered them, and she bought them and took each one to the cast members. And so a lot of times it's because someone has specifically asked for it, ordered it, paid for it. It's not just that I'm making them and just randomly sending them to celebrities. And even Lizzo, like I made Lizzo, and I liked Lizzo a lot. I was real into Lizzo last summer. And so I made her because she did such an amazing job on the BET Awards. She did this performance in like this wedding, like veil and lingerie and stuff. And she had her flute, and she just was really iconic and popular at the time. And so I made her, and I was just going to keep it. I mean, I didn't write a pattern or anything for it. I still haven't, but her publicist wrote me and asked me if she could buy it from me. And I just sent it to her because I liked Lizzo a lot. And she said, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I'll give it to her, and hopefully she can send me a picture and I'll send it to you. But then Lizzo posted about it on Instagram, and so stuff like that. It's like when I really am into something, it usually works out better for me. I don't know.
Then when you're doing it if you've tried to do it just as a way to capitalize on something's popular.
Yeah. And I can't think of anything. The only thing that I've never really watched Doctor Who that much. And I've made all the Doctor Who's dolls, the doctors from Doctor Who. But that was an order for somebody too. Like she ordered, and she has specifically over a few years, she's been like, okay, now can you make this one? And so one person owns every one of those Doctor Who dolls that I've ever made. So, and she and her husband had like a big case built for them and stuff. It's pretty,
wow.
It's pretty neat.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about like the actual process of crochet, because I feel like you've figured out a way to make these dolls that makes them really look like the people that they are. And you've got books and kits that explain it. But I just wondered if you could explain a little bit about what you've learned, as far as like yarn selection and the right needles to use, the right kind of stuffing, or if there are other kind of like tips around the eyes, or if you do embroidery for the mouth and that kind of thing that, would help people along if they wanted to create a successful project like this.
Yes. Okay. So I've learned a lot of things, made a lot of mistakes and trial and error. I've found the right kinds of yarn. I pretty much use worsted weight acrylic yarn. Like it's cheap and it's readily available. And this kind of thing doesn't need wool. It doesn't, people use wool, people use cotton, but wool stretches a lot. Cotton is really hard on my hands, so I don't usually use it unless it's a soft, real soft, like brushed cotton or something. But what I use is cheap acrylic yarn. I use kind of a small hook for the yarn. When you look at the label, it calls for a G or H for usually for worsted weight, but you have to use a smaller hook because you don't want holes. If you see something that's crocheted too loosely, it's going to show a lot of white stuffing through all the holes, and it makes it look kind of cheap, and it doesn't hold up like the structure. So that's why acrylic works well, because it's hard, it's scratchy, it's not going to stretch and get real soft and pill, and so that's what comprises the structure. A lot of it is the color too. If I see something in a material in a yarn that is maybe the fiber that I wouldn't normally get, like a alpaca or I don't know, a wool blend or something, and it's the right color, I'll usually try to make it work. Because for my baby Yoda, for instance, I was just searching and searching for a specific yarn, Lion Brand Hometown USA, or one of those, like the big bulky yarns. I needed this green color. I just knew what I wanted, and I could not find anything like it. And so I kind of expanded my horizons, and I went to Joann's, and I just looked, and I was just concentrated mainly on color. And I found Joann's has a line, buttercream alpaca, and it was the color sage. And I picked up that yarn, and I picked up several other ones, and I bought them, and I brought them home, and I started working with it. And the alpaca, which I've never used except for hair, I think, on an animal, using that yarn, it made it really big, and it made the doll really heavy, and it made it kind of fuzzy, which if you've watched The Mandalorian, Baby Yoda's kind of fuzzy on his head. And so it worked really well. And so I wrote that pattern and recommended that yarn. And it's so funny because 2 days later, I went to go buy some more, and it was sold out. And I was like, oh, that's strange, because they had a ton of it. It was in bins, in the middle of the aisles. It was like a special or something, and it was completely out. And then people started writing me and saying, I can't find that yarn. Do you know where that yarn is? And then a few days later, somebody from Joann's wrote me and were like, okay, what happened? Because our suppliers are freaking out. This yarn is sold out everywhere. So it's funny. People that are following crochet patterns will, if you tell them a yarn, they're going to go and get that exact yarn. They want to use the exact yarn. I was told this when I was writing my books too, that whatever yarn, you call out, a lot of times crocheters and knitters too, they like that specific yarn. So
yeah, I mean, I think and we're going to come back. We're going to loop back to Baby Yoda in a little while, but that is very interesting that you caused like a nationwide run on that yarn.
You still can't buy it.
Yeah,
you still cannot find it.
But I do think in general, when it comes to writing patterns, and this is something that I think a lot of people who are just beginning to write patterns often sort of fail to 100% realize, is that people buy a pattern because they want to be creative, right? They're in the mood to be creative. They want to do something creative. So they're buying a pattern with that in mind. But at the same time, they want instructions, which is why they're buying a pattern. Yes. So they want not just instructions on to how to make the item, but they also want instructions as to exactly what to buy. And although you as a designer, and we've just talked about this, might have that impulse of how to design, that's the most exciting thing. And you may want to give people instructions as to how to design your own. Well, a lot of people buying a pattern, that's not what they want. They don't want to learn to design their own. They want to make what you have made. And that includes down to exactly the right materials, which is why kits are so popular. So they want everything
I'm so
included.
Excited to be finally doing kits.
Yes. And that is extremely helpful to somebody, especially a novice who is saying to you, Tell me everything. Tell me exactly the yarn.
What to buy.
Exactly.
How many.
Yes.
Where do I buy it?
Where do I buy it? The exact color, the exact amount, the exact number of stitches in the exact order. Tell me what to do. I want to be creative. And I think it's hard for people who are just getting into writing patterns to totally get all of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
I know that other like knitting designers they strike up deals, with these yarn dyers or something. And they'll say, can you dye this amount of yarn for this? I'm going to write this pattern and let's work together on this. But I mean, I didn't even think that it was going to be a big deal. Some people don't even have a Joann's near them. And they're, like, what do I do? What do you have any ideas about what to substitute? And so I have a whole list now I have an Amazon shop linked on my website, and I have a whole list of just, a section just for, I don't call it Baby Yoda, but it's a list of yarns and eyes for my bear cub baby elephant pattern. And so it's a whole thing, yarns that I've found that work and eyes that I've purchased personally and things that work for this pattern.
Right. And then
because I get that question so much.
For stuffing, what do you use?
I just use I buy these giant boxes from Walmart, or I've ordered from Amazon of just Fairfield polyester fiber fill.
Okay.
I've tried like the fancier ones, and it doesn't really make that much of a difference to me. What do you use?
Yeah, same stuff. I have a huge one, and that I bought wholesale, and when I opened it, it's now much smaller because I've used most of it. But when I opened it expands, and it's hilarious.
So crazy. It's scary. I'm like, oh, where am I going to put all this? Because I keep it in a big laundry bin under my desk. And so I have to just keep refilling from that enormous box.
I keep it upstairs. I keep it upstairs, and I bring it down bit by bit because it's like huge. It's huge. And then do you use, is it 6mm eyes or 4mm?
For my regular standard size dolls, I use a 9mm.
Oh, they're 9. Okay.
Yeah. Then for the smaller ones, I use 5 or 6.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Good. All right. And then you put like a little blush on their cheeks, or what do you put on their cheeks?
Yeah, I usually do that. And people are so mystified of how do you get their cheeks pink? But I mean, my dolls aren't really played with, so I'm not sure if it lasts forever. But I put a little blush.
I literally have blush. Like I have like Revlon blush.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Yes. How funny. See, I know I've thought about like maybe I can find a different way to do this, but that's what works, and it blends really well, and you can't really mess it up.
Right. Okay, cool.
That's funny. Yeah, I know your
same stuff. All right, great. And then I also wanted to talk a little bit about how you get people's attention, because so you're using Instagram. You've got a lot of followers on Instagram, over 40,000, and so you'll be, making somebody, let's say, Margaret Atwood, I don't know, just somebody that you've made because you're a fan of them for whatever reason, Lizzo, whoever it is, because you authentically just like really admire their work and you think it would be fun to make them. And then you do, and you put the photo, you take a good photo and you put it on your Instagram, and then kind of explain how you are tagging or kind of describing this doll in a way that gets that person's attention. Because I think that sometimes this is a step people miss, where they go and they make something and then they just don't do enough tagging or research.
Right.
And so they're missing out.
Lot.
Yeah. So explain what you're seeing when people don't do it and what they could be doing.
I see things that I think, okay, that's better than what I did. And why, and like, I think yours is cuter than mine. Why did mine get so much attention? But it really is a lot having to do with the hashtags, all those annoying things that people put at the bottom, because a lot of people just look at on Instagram, they look at their discover screen. And so if I'm liking a lot of pictures that say hashtag crafts or hashtag amigurumi, then a lot of amigurumi things are going to show up there. And if the picture is so important, if you have a good picture, if if I take a picture with a flash where it's sitting on my couch or something, of a doll, that's not going to look good. And especially with the acrylic yarns and stuff that I use, it just does not look good to use a flash at all. You have to have a good picture in good lighting with a nice blurry background, or doing something cute even. Or my husband used to edit all my pictures and make them in funny situations and stuff. He hasn't really been doing that much, but it's really important to tag people too. If I'm making a Lizzo doll, and why would I not tag Lizzo? I see that too. And of course I'm going to tag Lizzo, and I'm going to look for her record company and tag them. I'm going to tag who her manager is. I'm going to tag if she was on the BET Awards wearing this. I'm going to tag BET. I'm going to tag, all these different people. Somebody is going to see it eventually, and maybe they're going to show her offline, and I'm not going to know about it. But eventually I'll find out, and they'll send me a message or, email me, or somehow it's going to show up later. Hopefully that's the wish with every post that you make.
This is not just a hashtag. This is at BET.
Both. Yeah, both.
Okay.
Yeah. Why be afraid to tag people? I think some people think it's annoying or whatever. I mean, I get a lot of people tagging me in random contests. You probably get that too.
I do.
Where you're tagged because you have to tag 3 friends. I don't care. That's fine. Tag me, please. That doesn't bother me at all. So why would it bother them? They get a zillion tags and all kinds of stuff. And then if someone sees it and I say, I made this Lizzo doll, and they're like, oh my gosh, at Lizzo Be Eating, you have to see this. Or what happened with me is that I had made some dolls or some ornaments for a girl that works on The Daily Show. And she is friends with one of Lizzo's publicists. And so I saw her comment and she tagged her friend. And so I was like, I wonder who that is. And I clicked on her name, and it happened to be Lizzo's publicist. She had all these pictures of Lizzo. So I was like, oh, that worked. Good. I hope she contacts me. And she did. So that's how that one worked. But it's just a lot of connections. It's a lot of finding out. So I follow Post Malone, but do I follow Post Malone's manager? Do I follow his producer? Do I follow his record company and his bodyguards? Even.
Right.
And his mom now. I'm friends with his mom. So it's tagging other people and not being afraid to be annoying, I think. And a lot of self-promotion, because if you're not going to promote yourself, who is going to do it?
That's right.
This is my livelihood. I'm not putting ads in the phone book. I'm not running Craigslist ads. I'm posting my funny pictures on Instagram. It's not, there's nothing to be ashamed of.
That's right. And if you think about it, right? So Lizzo's got a manager and
right?
who's promoting her and who's doing all of this on her behalf, and you don't. So you have to be,
I am every man.
You are your manager. So if you were to think about it that way, right, what would you tell the person who is your manager to do on behalf of you? Oh,
I would want them out there
right.
hustling and talking about me.
Right.
And how great this thing is that I made.
That's 100%. And if that manager wasn't doing that, then that manager would be not doing their job.
Right.
So
no, I'm not going to be embarrassed. I have a personal Instagram page for just, if I want to post pictures of my kids or something. That's not what this is. This is a business. This is me. You have to brag. You have to, and you don't want to just talk about the successes. I'll tell you about when I made a doll for Kevin Hart. Okay. I made a Kevin Hart doll. This girl contacted me. It was kind of a roundabout association with him because she is the assistant to his stylist or something. So that's kind of a distant relation, but she obviously works with Kevin Hart. And so she wrote me and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm the assistant to blah, blah, blah. She would love to give a doll to Kevin Hart. Can you make one of him and his baby? And can you do this and this and this real specific, he needs to be wearing this ring and he needs to have this jacket on and he make sure that the baby is like this and whatever. So I made this and it took forever. And it was kind of hard to do because Kevin Hart is not that unique looking. I mean, I guess he's recognizable, but it's hard to make him recognizable as a doll. And so I ended up making it, and I thought it looked like him, and I sent her pictures, and she said, "Oh, I don't know if it really looks like him enough, but I guess send it to me, and I'll see when I get it." And so I don't think she ever even gave it to him, and I never heard anything about it.
Wow.
Nothing.
Yeah.
It just completely fell flat. And then I posted pictures of it later and tagged him, and tons of people tagged him. I never heard anything, but whatever, you win some, you lose some.
Right. Exactly.
It was a disappointment, but hey.
Yeah. Yeah. It happens. Exactly. And I want to talk about, well, let's talk a little bit about the reason why you write books, and then we'll talk about Baby Yoda. So let's talk about why you write books. So you've written several books, and you have some coming out, and a kit coming out this fall. And so, what have you learned from that process of working collaboratively with publishers to create these books that maybe you've self-published over 80 patterns and in all of these years that maybe you wouldn't have learned just self-publishing?
Well, let's see. I like self-publishing better, but only because there's more freedom. I mean, I can make whatever, whenever, as fast as I want to do it. That was the one thing that I learned when I wrote my first book. I was just really taken aback by, first of all, how little you get paid, which was
considering that when you self-publish, right, you can sell that single pattern infinitely. So there's a lot more income potential per pattern. Yeah. Yes.
So that was a shock to me. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be rich. I'm gonna write a book. I'm gonna be rich. And that was kind of was a reality check. That was the first thing, but also it took forever. It took so long. My first book had an 18-month due date. And so of course I didn't really work on it until probably the last 6 months, it was too long. And it was hard to adapt my writing style to their guidelines or whatever, but it's also, there's been positives, of course. It's amazing to have a book with your name on it. And now I have 3 sitting here, and there's 2 more coming. And it's just, it's neat. It's a feeling of accomplishment. I've never earned out on any of my books. Like I don't get royalties on any of them yet, but who knows? I think they've done well. It's not like what I thought it would be to write books. I've enjoyed the processes, but it's not, I don't know. I think people have it in their mind like, oh my gosh, if I could write a book. Maybe if it's like the great American novel, that's a thing that people, but a craft book, I think I've been told that they're just really expensive to make and that they are expensive to sell, and they just, I don't know.
Yeah, in that way, I think it's a good idea to ensure that you get an advance that you feel good about, because it may be the only money that you see. So there are publishers out there who don't offer an advance, and then you are just banking on the royalties that you receive. And I think that the risk there for the author is a little bit too high, because you just don't know.
Yeah, so I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I've never said no to writing. I say when I'm in the throes of writing and I have a deadline or something, I always say, remind me not to do this again. But then I get another offer or something, and I just kind of have to do it. How can I say no to writing a Golden Girls book? And then they offered me Friends, and I can't just say no to that,
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Yeah, for sure. And I think that kit, I did a kit with that same company, and it was fun. Yeah, it's a fun thing to do.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. It's like little taxidermy animal heads.
Yes.
Yeah, it's fun. It was a fun project. I enjoyed doing it, even though, it is what it is, but from the financial perspective.
We know.
Yeah, it's good though. Okay, so, all right, we're at Baby Yoda. So, okay, tell us what happened here. Obviously, The Mandalorian came out, and it was an incredibly popular show, and Baby Yoda was the most popular character, at least visually. And there were no toys on the market, at least when the show first launched, right?
Yeah,
like they did eventually get toys, but when it first launched, there were no toys, licensed toys on the market. And so there was this void, right? Because everybody's like, Baby Yoda, I want one. And there weren't any.
Oh, yeah.
And so this is like the perfect spot for Crafty is Cool. So,
it was. And you know what? The timing was all perfect and everything too, because it was, well, I'll get into that. But I was not the first to write a Baby Yoda crochet pattern. I'll say that. So yeah, the Mandalorian came out, and over Thanksgiving, well, I started making one just because my husband was demanding it, and he just loved the show, and he thought, oh, that would be so cute. You got to make like a life-size Baby Yoda. And when you start making, you probably have had this experience, when you start making something and you're just kind of like, not real into it, and you don't think it's that cute, and you kind of set it on your desk for a while, and you come back to it and maybe add something. And then I was just kind of dragging my feet, because it looks pretty weird when I am making this thing and it's just this big blob with like giant eyes, and I hadn't made the ears or the arms, or, and it just looked, I just wasn't really that into it. And so I was kind of slow in making it. And then I started posting pictures of the process on my Instagram, and just, a lot of people were real into it, and they couldn't wait till I was finished and begged me, oh, you're going to write a pattern, please say you're going to write a pattern. And so I thought, well, I guess I could write a pattern. I'm not going to call it Yoda, of course, because Star Wars is known to be litigious. Is that the word?
Yep.
And that was thrown by Disney. I think they used to kind of embrace fan art, but now that they're owned by Disney, it's just not even.
Yeah, Disney is really tight. Yeah.
Yeah. So I said, well, I'm not going to call it anything Baby Yoda. I'm just going to say The Child. How about I just call it The Child? They weren't even calling it that at this time. This was just when he had been on like 1 or 2 episodes. I made it. And so then everybody in the media started calling it The Child after I'm not saying that I named him that, but people were calling him all different names. And I didn't want to say Baby Yoda because I thought that would be crossing a line. And so I called it The Child Amigurumi Pattern. And I didn't put any tags on my Etsy listing or Ravelry. I didn't put any Star Wars, nothing. Nothing. I didn't put Yoda, nothing. And so I said, this cute baby, whatever. I didn't say anything about Yoda, anything. It didn't matter. But I posted it on a Wednesday night before Thanksgiving. And so over Thanksgiving, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it was just like going crazy. Like my phone was just blowing up. And that's I've had experiences of where something has gone viral, kind of like real popular, like my Post Malone doll. And, it's been a hit, but it wasn't anything like this. And it was just people asking to buy the pattern and asking, I was selling the pattern, but it was people asking about it and saying, where can I buy the yarn? Just questions about it, and tags and reposts and articles. And then I think on Sunday is when Board Panda wrote about it, or Monday, the next Monday. And, that was back to a regular work day. And so I was just sick all weekend because I thought, this is too popular. It's going to be like, it's probably going to get me in trouble, is what my thoughts were. And I was debating whether or not to take it down, or if I should keep it up and like keep trying to call it different things and make sure nobody thinks it's Baby Yoda. And it didn't matter, because people that were posting about it and stuff were calling it Baby Yoda, calling it Star Wars, calling it, so of course it's going to get everybody's attention that are looking for that kind of thing, which there are people specifically employed to look for that kind of thing. And Monday morning, I think, is where I saw the Board Panda article. Board Panda posts funny stuff from the internet. They posted it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram story. Snapchat. I'm not even on Snapchat, but I know it was posted on Snapchat. they posted it everywhere, and it was millions of shares and likes and comments and all this stuff. So I just was so nervous and upset, and I was like crying to my husband. It was so stupid, but now that I look back, but I was really upset about it because I thought it was going to get me in trouble. And I was sitting at my desk that evening just worrying about what to do, and my phone rang, and it said Burbank, California.
Uh-oh.
And I don't know anybody in Burbank, California, but I know that Disney is headquartered in Burbank, California. And I just knew. I said, oh my gosh, Disney's calling me, I bet. And I answered the phone, and her name was Mary something or other. She's like the head lawyer for Disney, Walt Disney, whatever. And she was very stern. She wasn't the kind of person that I could kind of laugh it off and say, oh, whoops, I didn't mean for that to happen. Or, she was very serious. I guess she thought that I was going to argue with her, but I was doing nothing of the sort. I was really kissing up to her, and, because I agreed with her. I was not trying to get in trouble. And so she pretty much just told me that I needed to take it down. I needed to wipe the internet of my Baby Yoda anything, which means any pictures that I had posted on social media, even like saying, look what I made, which I don't know. I mean, I took it off of all of my selling platforms, of course, but I had one selling on eBay, and I was kind of at a loss about how to end that without making tons of people mad. And I figured it out, and I just wrote people that had bid on it, and I said, sorry, this isn't available. Yeah, but so I still have it. I never sold it, but so I took it off the internet, and there was no history of Baby Yoda on my end, but of course everybody else had seen it and posted about it, and there were articles with links to it, and it just wasn't available anymore.
Now this pattern, it's not available, but you have a pattern that has reminiscences of an animal.
I hate to make something and then just throw it away, especially after only having it for 5 days. And so it was a lot of work to make. You know how it is to write a pattern.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot of work.
It's a ton of work.
I mean, the moment it was taken off, I thought, well, I'm just going to rework it and call it something else because I could make it into a cute teddy bear. And I even like sketched it out and everything. And my agent was thinking that maybe I could actually get a deal with it somehow, like, and have it be actually Baby Yoda, but it fell through, and it never came together. And so finally I just said, okay, well, and I just rewrote it, and it's a bear cub, and it's an elephant, or you can make it into a rabbit. And so I didn't want to have it go to waste, and it was a cute pattern, so.
Yeah, and so people can take the bear and they can
do whatever they want.
Do what they want with said bear, which has most of many of the pieces of what could become, if you wanted to, make it into a Yoda, if you wanted to, but it is not a Yoda pattern.
Oh, I never thought of that, but sure, they could.
Sure, if you wanted to modify it that way, although that's not at all the intention.
Modify it, you have to be creative.
Right. Get creative.
You have to be creative because there's no pictures in the pattern.
No.
How to do that. There's pictures of all of the pieces.
Right.
But there's no finished pictures of anything that you're talking about.
No, of course not. Okay. Got it. So right.
It was a mostly positive situation. It scared me,
mm-hmm.
and it made me sick for a week, but it got me a lot of attention.
If something happened, and it will, happen like this again, right? Yoda is its own phenomenon, but there are other, let's just say comparables out there in pop culture. So if something like this happens again at some point, and there's like this void and this opportunity, right? And so I guess my question for you, just before we get to your recommendations, is what are you going to do, right? Because this did sort of make you feel like sort of physically ill in the moment. At the same time, you did recover from it and turn it into a positive, and like your business is still here and you're still here. You're still a designer and life moved forward. So I guess my question is like, what would you do next time?
I thought I was doing everything right because I didn't call it anything that you're not supposed to call it. And now if you go on Etsy, I'm not trying to have sour grapes or anything, but if you go on Etsy, there's tons and tons of Baby Yoda crochet patterns. They call it Baby Yoda, Star Wars, whatever. So I think it was just that mine was viral. That was the only reason I was called out. And so I'm not going to try to not make my patterns viral. I mean, that's what you want. You want it to be seen by a ton of people. I probably won't ever do anything Star Wars unless it's something that Disney is asking me to do, which would be cool. But different next time would be maybe, I think you just have to, it's almost like you have to just test the waters and see, like, and I do research. I mean, I research is there a lot of fan art out there that's being sold, or is it, is there a reason that there's zero Twilight and Harry Potter stuff on Etsy? I mean, you got to research that. Yes, it's because Harry Potter goes after everybody, and so does Twilight, and so does, there's just things that are known about different properties that you just don't.
Right.
Don't make Disney stuff. You don't.
Right. Yeah.
And so I don't know. I don't know if I would do anything differently. I mean, I hope to not have something like that happen again.
Right. It's just part it's just part of doing what you do, basically.
Yeah. And look, it's happened that now I wrote Golden Girls patterns and I sold those for years, but I am now writing an officially licensed Golden Girls book.
Right. So there you go. Yeah. It's hard to know. So sometimes it leads. Right. So maybe down the road, Star Wars will commission you. And I happen to know, like, there's an officially licensed Harry Potter knitting book out right now. So, yes. Yep. And maybe you'll have the opportunity to do the officially licensed crochet one. You don't know. You know what I'm saying? So like it could happen.
And the girl that writes there are Star Wars crochet kits, and she still publishes them on her Etsy independently for like new characters that come out. And so I thought, well, that's strange that, I don't know if they don't know or if they don't care or what. And so that was kind of also, I mean, I looked into that. I looked all that stuff up before I posted it. And I just thought, okay, they must not care about crochet patterns. Yeah. I mean, I looked into it. I thought I was doing all the research, but I just didn't foresee it being so popular.
Right. Because the reason why it sold so much is because it was somebody else's intellectual property. So, there's always that, right? Like that's the reason why everybody wants it, is because they saw this show that's created by somebody else, and that's why it's popular. So, yeah. Right, exactly. Otherwise,
and there weren't any toys.
But there weren't any toys. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it's a fine line, and I'm certainly not a lawyer. I don't have any expertise to share. But I do think it's really interesting, as you're somebody who's been in this space for a long time and has had a lot of different experiences. So it's really interesting to hear. And sometimes those experiences have crossed the line from unofficial to official. So, and that can happen. So
yeah, and I'm not saying that just because you write a pattern that is unofficial, they're going to call you up and say, "Hey, can we buy this from you?" That's
not always, for sure. Nope, not always. And sometimes they call you up and tell you, "Hey, no, you can't do that at all." I can go the other way too.
Hi, we're going to sue you. Yeah, so take that down. Yeah, she was very understanding. I mean, I was very apologetic, and I told her, I had no idea that this was going to happen, and she said, "Well, if you see anything else like this, you better write me and tell me."
Wow.
She wanted me to rat on everybody.
Right. You're like, that's going to get me a lot of friends in the industry.
There's a zillion of them on Etsy. Go look. But
yeah, totally. Whatever. All right. I want to get to your recommendation. So the first thing you wanted to recommend was a Book of the Month Club. So this sounds like something that's a little old school.
It is. I don't know how I happened upon it, but it's so fun. I mean, I I barely ever have time to read, but I do make time during the day. If I'm not feeling like I want to crochet at the end of the day, I can sit and read a book. But they're hardback books, and you get each month. There's usually they have like a celebrity or some famous blogger or something choose their recommendation, and they're all like reviewed and curated. So they choose 5 or 6 books every month, I think. And I don't remember how much it is a month. I paid for like a year subscription. That's what I usually do. It's reasonable. I mean, I usually look up the book, and if it's cheaper on Barnes and Noble, then I don't choose that one. Or you can skip a month. But they send you a hardback book, and it's a nice copy of the book. And they're all reviewed beforehand, so you can kind of see what fits your reading style or what you're interested in. There's usually some nonfiction. There's romance and mysteries and thrillers and sci-fi and all kinds of books. So I've just been really happy with it. And usually they're books that are that end up being really popular, and I've already read it or before everybody else reads it. It's fun. I really look forward to it the first of every month.
And then Animal Crossing New Horizons. I feel like Animal Crossing has been like the game of the pandemic. But so what is this one, and what is New Horizons?
So Animal Crossing, when my first son was really little, we had a GameCube that he would play during the day. But when he was at preschool, we got this game, Animal Crossing, and it was on the GameCube, so it was kind of older, but it was really fun. And you have a little house, and you get to choose what you look like, and you choose little furniture that goes in your house, and you're decorating your house. And it sounds really stupid, but it's really addicting. And every day you do little chores through your little village. It's not like, you remember those games on Facebook like Farmville and stuff where you had to plant all that? I always had requests of people playing that game, but I hated those kind of games. But I never play video games except Animal Crossing. It just hooks me. And you grow flowers, and you go to other islands, and you talk to the little animals that live in your village, and it's just really cute. And you can be creative with it.
I'm afraid to start playing games because I'm just like, I know I'll never stop. So I just can't, you know what I mean? Like, it's like,
and it's a game where you have to play it like every day to like check your mail and
right.
shake the tree to find the little, I mean, it's so stupid, but it sounds really dumb, but if people know, they know.
I know I'll love it. Fun. Yeah. And then I'll be like, no. Yeah. You got an Amazon Alexa Echo Dot, and people love these.
Oh my gosh. I was like really wary of having it listening to me in my house all the time. But for Christmas, my sister gave my kids each one, and then they liked it. And you could just say, I'm not going to say it right now because it's in the room, but you can say her name, and then you say, play Billie Holiday, or play. I like to listen to music like that while I'm working because it's just kind of nice, soothing background, or play rain sounds, or play, anything like that. And so that's nice. And they liked that part of it, the music part. And then you can ask it questions. And so I thought, well, I might try one. And it has come in so handy for me, like stupid stuff like, during the day, I'll be like, oh no, we're out of milk. And I'll be at the refrigerator. And so I'll yell into my office and say, hey, put milk on the shopping list, or put rice on the shopping list. And then when I'm ready to go to the grocery store, which is not very often, but when I'm ready to go, I can just walk over and say, hey, print my shopping list. And it's connected to my printer, and it'll print it out. It's so neat. And then if I'm working and I'm crocheting, that's what I really have found that I love it for, because I'll be counting stitches, and I'll be to where I need to do, X number of rows, and each row has this many stitches. And so I have to do this math real quick, but I don't want to stop crocheting. And so I'll just yell out and ask a calculation, and it'll tell me the number. Or like this morning, I said, remind me at 10:50 to Skype with Abby. And so at 10:50, it was like, this is your reminder, Skype with Abby. And so I just love it for stuff like that. And I know it's listening to me, and it's probably not very secure, but we're friends now.
Yeah.
And it's coming.
Yeah. I mean, I do set a lot of different reminders like that on my phone and on my computer. And I don't know, it kind of might be nice to have it all just be sort of in the
all
ether.
connected.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I can just yell out. I don't have to pick up my phone. If I'm
Right.
cooking, I'll say, hey, set a 5-minute timer. And then it's even in the other room, it can hear me. And then after 5 minutes, I don't have to take my hands and, type something in, or it's so inconvenient.
No,
I don't have to
it's nice. And
mess with the timers.
And half the time, I can't find my phone because my phone is is black, and I stick it somewhere and I just can't see it.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, I know it is. It's strangely been so convenient, and it's stupid. It's connected to my refrigerator, and I'll say what's the temperature of the freezer? So and or if someone leaves the refrigerator open, that's what is kind of cool, because it'll say your refrigerator door has been open for 5 minutes. I know, it's so stupid, but that could be really handy.
That could save
And I
me.
just connected it to I connected it to our air conditioner, and I can tell it to change the air conditioner temperature. So nice. So
wow.
No,
nice.
And it was the dot was, it's just tiny and it's pink, and it was at Christmas they had them for $30 or something. I mean, it's so cheap, and I do a lot of shopping on Amazon, so I can say her name and where's my stuff, and it'll say you have an order arriving today from that consists of a pillow and blah blah blah. It'll tell me when it's coming, and it's just, I don't know, I like it.
Yeah, I think you've got me convinced. I'm gonna put this on my wish list.
I'm a little scared of it listening, but I don't know.
It's okay. I've decided there's no such thing as privacy, so I'm good with it. Yeah.
So cheap too. That's what I like about it.
So Allison, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the Craft Industry Alliance podcast. It was great talking to you.
Thank you. You too. It was nice to be able to talk about all the stuff that we talked about, and have someone with an understanding ear.
Yeah. And finally connect in person, for sure.
I know. Yes. That's years.
Yeah, it was good. So you've been listening to the Craft Industry Alliance podcast. I'm Abby Glassenberg. Today's episode was brought to you by Timeless Treasures. Timeless Treasures is recognized for its unique novelty prints, bringing fun and playful designs to life. You can browse Timeless Treasures' diverse collections, novelties, boutiques, patterns, and a large library of free projects on ttfabrics.com, and follow along on Instagram at Timeless Treasures Fabrics. Look for Timeless Treasures next time you visit your favorite fabric store. Thank you so much, Timeless Treasures. Craft Industry Alliance is a community for craft professionals. And when you become a member of Craft Industry Alliance, you get in-depth coverage of craft industry news, the opportunity to connect with fellow professionals for advice and support, and access to an educational library filled with ideas, tools, and resources to help you as you build your business. Join us at craftindustryalliance.org. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.